In the world of ultra luxury full-size SUV, there's a lot to choose from on the market, and the 2024 Lincoln Navigator has been around now in its current generation for about 5 to 6 years. It got a slight little refresh in 2022, and in 2025 we're going to have a new Lincoln Navigator coming out. So even though this generation Navigator is now considered old, what we have here today is their top of the line black label trim, and it does not disappoint. It is absolutely gorgeous outside and in, even though it is a little old. So in late 2017, when this generation Navigator first came out, I did a review of it and I dubbed it the best SUV ever made. I know that's a pretty bold claim to make, but that's also how impressed I was by it, especially the interior and the overall luxury feel that you get. And for anyone that follows my channel, you guys know I'm a Ford guy. I used to sell Fords. I've owned a bunch of Fords. I've done tons of Ford videos. The Lincoln Navigator shares the same platform as the Ford Expedition. And I was also very impressed by how much Lincoln differentiates themselves from Ford. It's a completely different feel. And at the time of making that video, I was given a Navigator for the day by South Hills Lincoln, and they are the same dealership that is providing today's Navigator. So I want to give them a big thanks, and I'm going to leave all their contact information in the description below if you guys live in the area and you're in the market for any kind of Lincoln. One of the most popular brands in this segment is a Cadillac Escalade, and you can buy a Cadillac Escalade with a 6.2 liter supercharged V8, which in itself is pretty freaking cool. What you get in the Navigator is basically the same engine as a Raptor. So this is the 3.5 liter EcoBoost engine. This produces 440 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. With that being said, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, of course, but I gotta say, even though the Navigator has a few years on it now, it is such a gorgeous looking SUV from the front. I love the grille, love the headlights, and the LED strip daytime running light here. I can't wait to see what the 2025 is going to look like. If it's anywhere close to the new Nautilus, which will be the next review coming up on the channel after this one, oof, it's gonna kill the market. I might have to make a 2025 Lincoln Navigator review, the best SUV ever made, who knows. Now another cool little thing is when you're walking up to your Navigator, you see the power running boards. They come down just kind of to greet you if you have your key in your pocket, of course. And that leads us to the interior, which is absolutely gorgeous. So with a Lincoln Navigator, you can pick 3 different trims. Like we said, this is of course the black label. You also have the base version, which is the Premier, and then you have a Reserve, and then it goes up to the black label. And again, I know I've said this a couple times now, it might have a few years on its neck, but look at this interior, look at these seats. And with a Lincoln Navigator black label, you don't pick, let's say, you know, dark leather interior, light leather interior, you pick themes. So this is the chalet theme, and then we have other themes such as Invitation and Central Park, Yacht Club, and so on. So it's just a very classy feel with the Navigator. So back to the seats. They are 30-way power seats, and you have the controls here like on a Mercedes on the door panel, which I like a lot. So there's just so many different settings that you can do. We also of course have full massaging seats for driver and passenger. As we step to the back here, depending on how you configure your second row, the Navigator can seat 8 people. This specific tester here has the captain's chairs. So you have this console in the middle, which we'll go over here shortly. Now, I always like to talk about headroom and legroom, of course, since I am 6'2". So in the second row, this is my driving position right here. I got plenty of knee room, got pretty good headroom as well. And then we're gonna jump back to the third row, because this is where it gets really interesting. So we're gonna get the seat back. So that's where I was sitting in the second row. That's my driving position in the first row. This is my knee room for the third row. This is my headroom for the third row. I mean, it's like a freaking small apartment in here. There is so much room in the Navigator, and it's extremely impressive. Again, I'm 6'2", and I sit just fine back here. So we're gonna jump in the driver's seat for a second or two. Got a nice little welcoming chime there. And then we're gonna jump back out to the second row because you got some controls back here. So you can close the shade from the second row. And then you can control your seats back here as well. So heated and cooled seats. You have your own climate settings here. Audio, you can actually turn the volume up back here, which is kind of interesting. So you can obviously lock this feature from up front because it can be kind of annoying to have trolling kids in the back just turning up the volume and so on. And then you can go to settings here. You can do calm screen if you don't want any settings at all. And then of course we have our charging ports and all that good stuff. So again, even though the Navigator has a few years on it now in this generation, it still looks very nice here. I love that it has actual physical buttons. It's not just touchscreen. Heated seats, by the way, get really warm. Really, really warm. And then we have the gear selectors right here. They look like little piano keys. I think that's going to be something that people actually think is really cool and love, or they're not going to like it at all. I'm not a huge fan, but that is, again, just my opinion. What I do love is this phenomenal backup camera. Resolution is really good. And then you have the little line in the middle there if you're backing up to a trailer. The Lincoln Navigator, by the way, properly equipped, can tow 8,700 pounds. That's actually slightly more than a Raptor. It was rated to tow around 8,000, so that's really, really good. Now we have a Revel sound system with 28 speakers. And trying to demonstrate the sound never obviously works properly in video, but it's really, really good. And this is compared to, for instance, Ford's super good sound system, which are not super good at all. It's the Unleashed. My F-150, for instance, had, I think it was 18 or 19 speakers, but it just wasn't a good system. You heard that rattling in the door panels and stuff. You don't hear that in this Lincoln. So it really feels like a different quality from Ford to Lincoln, which I love that they're able to differentiate themselves. Now we have different driving modes. We have normal, conserve, efficient driving. Then we have excite, responsive and engaging, which is usually where I drive it. Then we have slippery. Then we have deep conditions. Since I've done a full review of this generation Navigator before, I'm not going to go like fully into the infotainment system and stuff like that. It's Sync 4. It's been around for a little while. It's a great system, but it's really nothing new. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. I do want to spend time driving it though. So here we go. This EcoBoost engine is so torquey, and it is perfect for the Lincoln Navigator. I know I've ripped on it a little bit in the past because of them putting a V6 in the Raptor and so on. We didn't have a V8 anymore at that time, but it is a really good engine. It is, which is probably also why, again, a Navigator will take an Escalade from 0 to 60. I'm sure the Escalade is extremely heavy, but so are all full-size luxury SUVs. They're no light vehicles by any means. But this EcoBoost engine, since it is so torquey, it almost makes the Navigator feel light. So we're going 70 miles an hour on the highway, and it feels just like a luxury SUV should feel. It's extremely quiet in here. You just hear a little bit of wind noise. No tire noise, no road noise whatsoever. It just floats on the road. And like we mentioned, there's a lot to pick from in this luxury full-size SUV segment, and they're all expensive. You're not going to get one that is cheap, even if you pick the base model. So a Premier Navigator starts in the 80s, and then it can go up to around $125,000. The one that we're driving here today is $115,000. If you want a fully loaded Escalade 600, you're at around $165,000. And I haven't really read up on the Range Rovers, what their fully loaded price is, but you know that it's going to be higher than 115 grand. Pay a lot for the brand recognition, of course. And man, it's got pickup. This thing is quick. So since this is the last model year until the new generation comes out, not much is new for 2024 in the Navigators. The one exception though is that you could previously get a Navigator with rear-wheel drive. For 2024, they are only available in four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. So when you buy any Lincoln that is a black label, it's more than just a top-of-the-line trim with nicer interior and so on. You actually get a lot more with that. You get free car washes for as long as you own the vehicle if you're the first owner. You get access to a concierge service. You can have complimentary car rentals, and the list goes on and on and on. So it's more like a membership, or you're part of a club, so to speak, which is pretty cool. Now also, when you get a black label, you get 4 years included of what Lincoln calls Blue Cruise. And this system is basically semi-autonomous driving. So when you are on certain roads that are pre-selected, if you will, by the Lincoln GPS, your Navigator will let you know that Blue Cruise is available. So I don't know if it's going to do it right here, but earlier when I was driving, it actually let me know, and I got some footage of it. So like I said, it's basically a semi-autonomous driving where it lets you take your hands off the wheel for a while, and then there's little cameras located here and there that keeps an eye on your attention, basically. So you can't, you know, fall asleep and the car will drive like a Tesla. If it notices that you're not paying enough attention, it tells you get your hands back on the wheel, take control, whatever. So, you know, with those type of systems, it's not just Lincoln that has that. I mean, it can be cool, I guess, for a little bit, but you know, if it's not fully autonomous, I feel like it's kind of useless. Like, why would you have to take your hands off the wheel for like 15-20 seconds and let the car basically drive itself? I don't know, but that's my opinion. But either way, when you get a Lincoln Navigator black label, you get 4 years included because it is a subscription service. Now, Lincoln claims that you can get 22 miles per gallon on the highway in this big old SUV, and I believe that because the EcoBoost engines are good on fuel economy when you're driving very conservatively. However, when you're doing city driving or you know, stop and go a lot like I'm doing right now, they are awful. Because every time they're in boost, which is pretty much every time you're on the gas pedal, they suck fuel worse than a V8 does. And that's sadly just a fact. But getting over 20 miles to the gallon in a big vehicle like this on a road trip filled with people is still good. You can't complain too much. And once again, I want to give a huge thanks to South Hills Lincoln for lending us the Navigator in today's review. Check them out. I'll leave all their stuff in the description below if you guys are in the market for a Navigator or any other Lincoln. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And stay tuned for that one, because that is the new Nautilus. Absolutely gorgeous vehicle, amazing interior. Until then, bye-bye.